Hey guys, what's up? It's me again, Hey Story, and we're back to our second part of basic fashion illustration tutorial for everyone. So, for this one, I will be introducing you onto 3D shapes. So, um, if you might ask, I'm not using 2D shapes only. So you will be, or I mean, you'll get used to looking at people or breaking down the shapes into three-dimensional, not two-dimensional, since humans, humans aren't made into 2D shapes, but 3D. So here are the shapes that I am showing you that we are going to use are the sphere, cylinder. We also have truncated cone. We will also be using a prism. What prism was that? Oh, trapezoidal prism, which you will be seeing there. So, yeah. I am doing this so that um you will understand how the shapes works on the body as a um fundamental process for us to be able to understand more about drawing the body using basic shapes. So usually we would always skip the processes or the basics, like we're going to jump into detailed illustration already, but that thing is wrong unless you are a professional. You have already learned a lot of things and you know how things are working already. You have your own techniques. But if you are a beginner, it's better that you start with a stickman skeleton, knowing the parts, the joints, where to move, or how it is going to look like, how it should look like, and then the basic shapes that is resemblant to the body parts of the humans. So as you can see right here, I am currently using a cylinder which I am doing on the neck. So as you can see, for if you are going to turn the neck into a basic shape, it is more um uh similar. It's quite nearly similar. It looks kind of like a cylindrical shape. So such as for this one, as you can see here, I have used the cylinder shape to put them on the parts that looks like cylinder, such as the neck. We will also be putting that on the arms, such as that. I'm currently using a different color so we will be able to identify how things do look like. I mean, how do shapes look like separately. Also, I'm going to use them for the legs. So as you can see, the legs are going, I mean, it goes thinner on the other part, going to the knees. So it's quite like a truncated cone, but I just considered it looking like a cylinder, or I represented it by using the color cyan for the cylinder. But no worries, it almost looks like a cylinder. That's why I included it to that group of color. And then for the sphere, that's going to be on the joints, such as the joints for the shoulder, the elbow, the knees, and for the ankle ankle ankle. And then let's go to the truncated cone. So this is where I do put the truncated cone, because hands aren't always, they don't always look like a straight figure. So they also have their forms, they also have changing shapes. So that is where I placed the truncated cone. I'm currently using some lines, or I'm putting some lines on what you might see on the other side, just for you to understand that this is a three-dimensional shape. Now the trapezoidal prism, I usually put them on the upper body, from waistline going to the shoulders. So as you can see, I am using a broken lines as an illustration or as a representation that this shape appears at the back of um, the figure, the shape. I don't know how to explain it clearly in English, but that's it. That is what you should see at the back, since it is being covered by the shape or whatever you can see at the front. So now I used actually next I used a truncated cone again for the hips, and then for the foot with a combination of a trapezoidal prism, and next I used a trapezoidal prism again on the hands, just like what I said earlier. I am using the broken lines as a representation of um, a 3D shape, that it isn't just a flat shape like square, but it is a three-dimensional shape. That's why it has broken lines as well. And I used cylinder shapes on the fingers, so they are divided into three parts. Next, we are gonna try using it on a body that has a posing, not a normal standing pose. So for a fashion pose, we're gonna try using the method that I have shown you earlier. So I think what I think I just don't really know sometimes what I'm trying to say, since English is not my native language. But I hope that you guys are understanding. For those viewers that I have from outside the Philippines, I would like to say hi for my viewers, especially in India, because I have talked to someone who lives in India, and I checked on my YouTube algorithm or analytics. It says that I have viewers, um, a lot of viewers from India next to Philippines. Of course, Philippines is going to be my first. I mean, um, Philippines is the country that I will be having more viewers from, because I live from here, and some of my videos are in Filipino language. So as you can see here, I am trying to put the shapes. I will be changing that later actually. So um since we are not yet on the changing part yet, so I'd like to explain to you that um it is great for you to understand on how the shapes works on the body, so you will be able to uh for example, you will be making another poses, you will be able to plot well on how or where the flesh or the muscles go, and you will be able to understand how, I mean, you'll be able to illustrate well how the thickness of the muscles should be. So that's what I am kind of I mean, that's what I think is best. That's why we're using shapes. I think it simplifies what is hard for us to see in actual, because usually what we would do is what you see in actual is what you're going to draw on immediately on the paper, without understanding um, how these things work, how this body bend, how does your body looks like when on this kind of pose and that kind of pose. We are not understanding uh, about the dimension and the shape of the body. So for us to be able to illustrate it well, it's better that we use basic shapes first before going directly onto drawing the drawing the muscles immediately without any clear understanding on how things work. So usually on the art community, what do they call this thing that I am doing is breaking down or breakdown. You're trying to understand um, or simplifying everything. For example, the body and the face. You're trying to understand um, the simplified form of its shape. Example for the anatomy. For the joints, I used a sphere. For the legs, I used, and the hands, I used cylinder. You can try to observe using other photos and references and try to illustrate. I mean, try to break down the photos or the models, the anatomy, using basic shapes such as this one that you can see here that we're doing. This one is just a guide for you to understand. I hope you did understand what I'm trying to say. Sometimes I just do speak so randomly, but I hope that it gets through. I mean, you understand the message well, what I'm trying to say. I hope you learn from the way I do break down shapes the shapes of the human anatomy. So this video is just basically about breaking down. Aside from the stick bone that we have started on our last video, so those are just the guides that we will be or that we should use as a beginner to be able to put them all together into the right proportion in the right shape. So this is just a foundation as well, the second foundation aside from the first one that I did, a skeleton. So the shapes are the second foundation into doing your illustration, especially on the anatomy. So this is how it looks like. I hope you guys learned a lot, and we will be doing the next tutorial on the next